Once again, thanks everyone for joining and for your interest. It's nice to see a lot of people who are potentially enthusiastic about iGEM. So I will share my screen and tell you a couple of words about what's going to happen now. Can you see the slides?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. So welcome again to the iGEM Team Latvia info session, brought to you by the Biocatalyst Foundation. Yours truly, I'm Andriy Chekhov. I'm originally from Tallinn, live in Riga, and one of the co-founders of Biocatalyst. And the aim of today's session is to tell you more about what iGEM is, what to expect, and what you should do if you want to move forward and be a part of this potentially new long tradition of Latvian iGEM teams. So first, just a couple of words for those of you who are not familiar with what Biocatalyst is. So I can see quite a few familiar faces, but for everyone, we are a non-profit organization with the goal of boosting biotech innovation across the Baltic states, basically by connecting all the various stakeholders across industry, academia, funding, talent, policymakers, etc., etc. And we do that by through a number of activities, including industry events, various programs for young professionals and talented people, by helping teams become viable startups, and by producing insights like the very first Baltic Biotech report that's going to be out quite soon. So today's agenda is quite simple. I'm going to walk you through the very basics of what iGEM is. Then we have a special guest with us today, Neria Kaponamelas from Stockholm, joining us. She will tell more about her iGEM experience, and she will also be here to answer any questions that you have. So we'll have a QA after that, and finally we'll tell you about the next steps, the timeline of the iGEM Latvia project and the next steps that you can take to become a part of it. And you should expect approximately half an hour to 15 minutes in total for the session. So let's go. Without wasting any time, just a very brief intro into iGEM. You might have already seen the website and maybe read a little bit, but just to make sure that we're on the same page, let's look at the basic information. iGEM is International Genetically Modified Machine. It's by far the largest synthetic biology competition in the world. It was founded in Boston in the United States. And right now it happens in almost like half of the countries of the world, I think. People, mostly students, but also other people from all strands of life come together to form teams of various disciplines and solve real problems with the help of biotechnology and synthetic biology, meaning modifying or engineering the genetic code of living things to solve some real problems that we're facing in the world today. The participants of each year's competition get a chance to be invited to the finals, which is called the Giant Jamboree. This year it's going to happen in Paris in the autumn, probably in October. So by going through the iGEM experience, you become a part of a huge community of synthetic biology enthusiasts around the world. Just to give you an idea of the numbers we're talking about, it's about 7,000 people each year, and it's growing every year, even I think during the COVID years. it was still expanding, and the kind of the community of alumni, of mentors, and of companies that are formed by the former iGEM participants is already more than 40,000 strong. There's a huge genetic registry developed by the participants of iGEM over the last years, over more than a decade of those competitions happening. So it's also a huge open source project. And the alumni of iGEM are actively founding startups and working for leading industry biotechnology companies. Approximately $2.4 billion in value has been created in enterprise value created by the iGEM alumni since the inception of the competition. So getting on a more practical footing, the question of what will be happening during the iGEM year, in the most basic terms, a team will need to identify a very specific problem, a real life problem that can be solved with synthetic biology, and they will need to create a unique project presenting their solution. And so it's a little bit like a mini version of a startup, basically, because you will not only need to work on the technological part of it, but also on the kind of commercial and presentational part of it, so that the idea, the implementation actually makes sense. And other things that, so it's not only about like spending time in the wet lab or brainstorming ideas, it's also about doing other things, adjacent things. So the team will need to find sponsors, or one sponsor to finance the participation fee. This is this is what every iGEM team goes through. So this is somewhat of a kind of rite of passage for every new iGEM team and iGEM country, and it's also kind of an exciting way of boosting your sales skills, so to speak. And again, as I mentioned, the work happens during the first 8-9 months of the year, and the teams that get invited to Paris to the finals, and that's a huge event. It's definitely an experience to have, and this is something that will need to be reached by going through all the steps that we'll also mention below, mention later in the session. Regarding your contribution, as I mentioned, the project lasts for about 6 to 8 months, starting from late February and until the autumn of this year. The involvement is expected on a regular basis, so it's not like the team comes together once a month and then nothing happens for another 30 days. So it's an ongoing project. Every team member should take an active role in developing the actual project, and preferably also be able to participate in the finals, and be a good team member. Of course, that's kind of self-evident, but still worth noting. The things that you get from being a part of iGEM, apart from kind of being at the start of this tradition in Latvia, is of course new skills. A lot of them, as I mentioned, there are various kinds of tasks that will need to be done, from scientific development to the presentation of your results and pitching your results. It's a huge boost to resume and to a career, even, as Neria might actually tell you a bit more about just a couple of minutes later. You get to meet new people, new cool people, most probably, and biotech enthusiasts, and become part of the global SynBio movement and the alumni of the iGEM, which is, as you remember, a huge network across the world. It's always a nice thing to have. So this is these are the basics. We'll definitely send you these slides so that you don't need to like take notes or keep something in your head right now. And yeah, the basic idea here is to put Latvia on the map in the iGEM competition. You can see that it's still this gray area. I think one of the last 2 European countries to not have had any iGEM teams yet, together with Slovakia, I think. So let's change that. It's not going to be an easy ride because it's just the first time we're doing it in the country, but it's definitely going to be a very interesting experience, a very rewarding experience if you go through it. So these are the basics, and right now I'd like to give the floor to Nelia to share her experiences about participating in iGEM as a team, and later also being the regional head or like the helping develop iGEM organization in Europe, and especially in the Scandinavian region. Nerea is currently in sales development at Biolamina, a biotech scale up in Sweden. And yes, Nerea, the floor is yours. Happy to welcome you.
Thank you, Andre. I think I really love your slides. I think you've done a fantastic job summarizing iGEM and what the competition is about. I really love the slides. So it's really great. I have some slides as well. They're not as cool as yours. They are just a bunch of pictures. I think maybe you need to make me co-host.
Yes, I'll make you a host right now.
Yeah.
I think pictures are better for slides than text. I had to have some text.
Yeah,
yes,
no,
so
I
you're
think
the host
it's
now.
great. Okay. Can I? Oh, right, I can now. Yeah, I was just like going down a bit on memory lane, and then I found a lot of pictures of memories with my team, so I couldn't help it but put a lot of them. So it's not pretty, but it's just a lot of pictures. Yeah, so I think you can see my screen, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so as Andre mentioned, I participated in the iGEM Stockholm 2019 team, even though I'm not originally from Stockholm, I'm from Spain. But the Stockholm team is always very diverse, as you can see in this picture. We had, I think, 14 different nationalities, and we were about like 18 members of the team. So it's a very welcoming space, and also iGEM in general, they do a lot of work for like making science available to everyone. So it was a really great experience, and I would like to just share a few highlights. I was the team leader of the team. We were 18 students, and it's totally a student-led initiative, meaning, as Andre explained, we had to do find the money, the grants to support our research and also our travel expenses. We had to find our own research project. We also had to find researchers or labs where we could do our experiments. And then we presented in a couple of conferences, and at the end we presented in Boston. And here you can see my team is a lot of lovely faces, and I really miss them a lot. It was the first time that I ever managed something this large, and definitely it helped me to develop a lot of the skills that I wouldn't otherwise have developed during my master's in a more like passive receiving information kind of role. This is very definitely active, and you get to develop any idea that you might have that you think could be beneficial for the team. So what my team did, we created a solution for phage therapy because we all found so fascinating this new therapy. So phages, and here's a bit of science info. Phages are, or bacteriophages, are viruses that only infect bacteria, and they're very specific, meaning that one bacteriophage might invade one type of bacteria, maybe a couple more species, but they tend to be very specific. So they're used, or they're starting to be used to treat those conditions where the bacteria are resistant to antibiotics. So that was a topic that interested all of us, both from a scientific perspective. It's not very well known how phages behave, but also from an application perspective, like we get to work with making life better for these people that have antibiotic resistant infections. So all the team agreed that this could be a really good project. Some scientists told us we were crazy, like we cannot achieve that. And they were right, but it was still very fun to try. So don't get discouraged. And here you see some of the activities we did during the year. So definitely there's a lot of lab work, which we did mostly in the summer. That's when we don't have a school or exams. So during summer, we took over the student labs and make it our home. And here in the middle of this picture, you can see our PI. He was very supportive of us. So we were there for about 2 months, 2.5, doing a lot of lab work and also dry research. So a lot of bioinformatics, that is also a key component of iGEM. So from a scientific perspective, iGEM is great to acquire those lab skills and also bioinformatics skills. We also did a lot of outreach. We did an art exhibition in where we mixed synthetic biology with art because we had this artist in the team. We had, he came completely from an artist background, had very basic knowledge about biology, but we loved working with him because of all the ideas he brought. And because iGEM is not just about the research, but also how you communicate that research. And that includes the graphics and the design and the video you have to make. Then it's really good to have people that are passionate about diverse topics. So he helped us to put together this art exhibition where it was the most amazing experience really of my life, because we managed to get hold of artist space that is an abandoned nuclear reactor. Is underneath the KTH University, and you have to go, I don't know how many meters underneath the ground. And then it's like this massive construction from the early 50s or 60s. It's completely clean. So it looks kind of like radioactive. And we thought that looked really cool with like synthetic biology. And we had a lot of visitors and it was really a blast. And then we also did more scientific outreach, which is also part of the iGEM competition per se. They want you to be able to educate and share this knowledge with your community in Latvia. So in our case, we also hosted like a little summer school for high school students where we invited them to our lab and kind of explain a little bit the basics of phages and bacteria and those sort of things, microbiology. And then some of our team became stars and they went to the Swedish national TV, which was very cool. So that is a bit of more of like media marketing, because you have a very hard task since this is the first time there's going to be iGEM in Latvia. But it's very important that you build a little bit of a media brand awareness, because that would allow you in later years to get a sponsorship from companies, because companies are interested in show that they engage with the students and support student initiatives. So if you have news and media outlets looking at you, that will attract investors. So yeah, as you can see, a lot of things to do, but it's also really great because you get to explore these other things that you don't necessarily explore in just your science curricula. And then we went to present to the Giant Jamboree, which was a really amazing experience. A lot of people, it was overwhelming. And we went to Boston, but this year it's going to be happening in Paris. And I've seen some pictures of the venue and it looks really cool because it's huge, much bigger than Boston. And I've heard the food is going to be better because in Boston they gave us mac and cheese and it's not as cool as they show in High School Musical movies. And so what happens after iGEM? I really enjoyed my year in iGEM, but then there's also a lot of things that you can take when you finish iGEM, because it's just 1 year, right? So there is a lot of ways that you can stay active in the iGEM community. Really, it kind of feels like a lifelong connection that you make with some of the people. So after I finished iGEM in 2019, I became an after iGEM ambassador in 2020. So I was selected to kind of represent iGEM in the Nordics and support the students that were creating teams or that were doing some iGEM related stuff. So I helped with that. Then I also participated in the Venture Creation Lab, which is a program from iGEM that helps people interested in entrepreneurship to develop their startups. So I did try to develop my own startup for a year, but then couldn't continue due to financial shortcuts. But I did try it and I learned a lot. And then the next year in 2021, I actually became the manager of that program, of the entrepreneurship program. And that really helped me to expand my network with really cool key innovators and founders of amazing startups throughout Europe and throughout the world, because I got to work with them to prepare coaching sessions, to prepare panel discussions, to prepare events for our teams. So it's really a great way to grow your network and showing them what you're capable of. And then more things will come hopefully in 2022, more plans that I have in place. So hopefully I will see you in Paris. It will be really great to meet you in person, eat a croissant. And then a little bit about outside iGEM. I think iGEM also really helped me. So I was very interested in more of a commercial perspective of science, how we can bring science outside of the lab and make it into a business, right? A company. So I got a job at Promega, which is one of the biggest sponsors for iGEM. And I got that through my network that I have made at iGEM. So through iGEM, I was contacted with Promega because they were sponsoring us, and then they saw the work that I did, and then I got a job as a sales representative. And after that, after that chapter, I'm now at Biolamina. I really like my job at Biolamina because it's a small company that is rapidly growing. So that means I get to participate in a lot of challenges and learn a lot about what it's like to grow a company, which I hope I use in the future to create my own company again, my own startup. And yeah, that's a little bit about me and about iGEM, and I'd rather answer your questions than talk more. That's it for me.
Thank you so much, Nerea. Really, really cool. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions right now, now's a good time to either unmute yourself and go ahead and ask, or just write it in the chat.
It can be if you're curious, or also if you are worried, like, okay, how do you manage to come up with ideas? Anything that you like.
Maybe more related to funding and where we can look for that, because and ideas, what exactly is the field of what iGEM is interested? Is it only medical related or anything?
That's a really great question. Actually, it's like anything that you can find that biology has an application for. So if you go to the website, there are, I think, 12 tracks or something like that. So there's one track for medical, but also is for food. So there are teams also working with, for example, cultivated meat. There are teams working with cell space, like how can we grow bacteria in the space, or plants or stuff in the space. There is for industrial applications, for environmental. Environmental is a very hot topic. A lot of teams participate in that. And I think the Nordics tend to do quite well in this topic. They usually try to solve some problem in the Baltic Sea about pollution with drugs and other pollutants in the Baltic Sea. So, and also plastic degradation and things like that. So it's a topic that iGEM is very interested in. I would say to get inspired, something that iGEM loves and what they always say is local people solving local problems. So get inspired by the problems that are in your region and find solutions to that. So for example, for us to get we talked to our grandparents, we talked to the neighbors, we read newspaper, we kind of saw, okay, like what are the things that worry people here in Sweden, and what are the problems that might be in the region. So you can, yeah, some teams do really cool stuff. Like I remember there was this team from Switzerland when they went to vineyards and they saw there was this plague or a parasite affecting wine vineyards, and the way for so like the farmers didn't have any way to test it because they would take a sample, send it to a lab, and it will take like months, and by the time they got the results back, all the vineyards were killed by this parasite. And vineyards take a lot of time to grow, like almost 100 years. So it was very devastating. So what they did is they did like a rapid test where you could sample the leaf and get like within minutes, 1 hour, get the results. And that could be easily done by the farmer. And they actually built it and went to the farmer to test it. It was super cool. So things like that. And it can also be bioinformatics tool. If you don't have access to a lab, then you can also build bioinformatics tools. Yeah, check the website and be inspired by what previous teams have done. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can also take something that a previous team has done and be, okay, they aim to do this, but they couldn't achieve it. So let's build on top of that.
Okay.
And for getting sponsors, I would say start with the university. A lot of them has some funding or grants that they give to students or to student-led programs. And also check around for companies around Latvia. I would say there are two strategies. So one is what I call like the general strategy. So go for companies that want to sponsor student teams, regardless of whether they're gymnastics or science or math, but they want to sponsor students. And then once you know your project and you know, okay, I'm going to be working with water, then you can approach the water cleaning companies and they might sponsor like your idea.
I'm gonna also jump shortly on this topic for more clarity. So the reason the Biocatalyst Foundation is participating or kickstarting the Latvian iGEM project is exactly to provide some of the infrastructure and contacts and network necessary to put it on track. So we are going to help with finding the sponsors, because as Nerea mentioned, the first time could be more difficult. I mean, if there's already visibility in the media and people know about the iGEM in the country, then it becomes easier every year. We are going to assist with the lab space. So we already are in talks with major universities in Riga for providing lab space, as well as supervisors and mentors. So we're not going to kind of hold the team's hand or decide on the topic, but we will try to do as much as possible to make it a smoother ride for the Latvian team for the first time, and assist in every way we can.
Thank you.
I think that's really fantastic, Andrea, and it's really great that you're doing this for the team, because I had to deal with so many of this bureaucratic stuff, and it's like I just want to enjoy and be doing science and cool stuff. So it's really great that they get your support.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so I had just two questions. One is for you, Andre, and one is for Nerea. I'll start with Nerea. Sorry if I butchered the pronunciation. But I wanted to ask, does this year also include social events where you have to engage with people? Because I'm just asking because of all of the COVID situation. And I remember that when I was doing it, we had to like actually make events for school children and other people to even fill participation criteria.
Yeah, you pronounce my name correctly fine.
Thank you.
It's really good, actually. Yes, so every year around maybe February or March, they publish the criteria, the medal criteria. So maybe you're familiar already, but in iGEM, when you participate, there's like bronze medal, silver medal, and gold medal. And that is like, okay, to get bronze, you have to register and blah, blah, blah. To get silver, you have to do this and this and this, and gold, this and this. So take a look at the website. For the last 2 years, this has not been a request, a requirement, more like you can do engagement through online digital platforms. So, but it was not like they actually advise you to really follow the COVID rules in your country. So check for this year. We're hoping that really we can host this in Paris. It's going to be by the end of the year. So we hope that the situation looks really good. And that is the plan. We're planning to host it there. But yeah, just follow the country's recommendations and work with that. Yeah.
I just came up with another question for you as we were speaking. I know that they have the standard BioBrick format for doing the genetical manipulations, but I was wondering, is it only limited to that, or can you also use other methods? Because as I remember a few years ago, for example, the Lithuanian iGEM team had developed a completely novel method for multiple vector something. I don't remember quite.
Yeah, I think the method they recommending iGEM is like Golden Bridge or Golden Gate, and it never works. Like it never works.
It's a
but no,
nightmare.
it's only like the very easy way to do it where you take two enzymes and you cut it and paste it. But like you are free to use whichever other method you would like. And I think in fact in iGEM Stockholm 2018, they were trying Golden Gate and was not working. And then they tried a different one that one of the researchers next to the lab where we were working was testing, and it worked. So then you just have to describe it a little bit. So everything you do in iGEM needs to be documented and it needs to be shared on the wiki. So it's very important that you plan ahead, you take notes, because if it's not on the wiki, then it hasn't happened and the judges will not care. Like if it's not there, it's non-existent. So just document it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the question I had for Andre, has BioCatalyst already decided about the level at which we're participating? Is it bachelor's, master's, or yeah, that's the question basically.
This will be based on the actual team applications and composition. So it's going to be collegiate track, so college, which includes undergraduates and also master students. If we get applications from master students or beyond, that will be the master's track. If not, that will be the bachelor's track. So it depends. It's not really something set in stone.
Okay.
Yeah, and also to clarify, they can be mixed. So you can have masters together with bachelors, but then they need to be registered as masters. Yeah, and it's also totally fine. We had people in our team that was mixed. So yeah, I think you cannot have though masters with like high school. High school needs to be like really high school. But it does not apply here.
Well, thank you. That answered my questions.
But it seems you did iGEM before, Danis?
Yes, I participated in the Estonian iGEM team twice back in the day in 17 and 18.
Oh, okay. I didn't know Estonia had a team.
Oh yeah, we had two. This is already the 5th year it's going. I was in the first team they had back in 2017, so quite a while ago.
Okay, so you probably were with my friends in 2018 from
Quite
Stockholm.
possible, quite possible.
Yeah.
I met them in the Giant Jamboree, but I can't recall, sadly, because of the amount of people there.
Yeah. So fun fact about iGEM Stockholm is we hold the iGEM memes account, and iGEM memes is like the best. If you get into iGEM, we post a lot of cool memes. And so we became famous for iGEM memes. I had people coming at me at the conference and be like, "You're the iGEM memes person. Can we take a picture?" Someone even gave me $10 because apparently I had won a prize for something with my memes. I'm like, thanks. So send us your memes to iGEM memes and follow us on Instagram.
Looking it up right now.
Yeah.
All right. If there are no other questions right now, I think we can thank Nerea for joining us and for your insights and for helping to answer the questions. I'll be now wrapping this up with just a couple of practical pieces of information. So I will take the host from you, if I can.
Yes.
I knew that. Okay, yeah, this is one.
I'll just say goodbye. It was a pleasure to meet all of you. I hope to see you in Paris. And if you have any questions or need any advice during the year or anything that I might help with, Andrew has my contact and I'll be happy. I'm very passionate about iGEM, so I will never say no unless there is something really bad happening in my life. So yeah, and best of luck.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Much appreciated.
So we have just a couple more things for this session, the practical ones. So first of all, just a very quick overview of the timeline that was mentioned in a couple of places before, but just to give you an overview of what's going to happen next. So in February, we're going to have the team formation and connecting a team with the mentors and with the supervisors. In March, the team that has been formed will be thinking about the ideas that they could join iGEM with, and also contacting sponsors, again, where we will be able to help with finding the right people in the right companies. In April, you'll need to choose the topic already and submit your application on the iGEM official iGEM system. The May will mostly be devoted to developing the implementation plan and kind of kickstarting the work on the project. As Nerea mentioned, the main part of the work happens during the summer. So the team receives the standard biological parts from iGEM, shipped to them by summer, and they work on the project. And the finals will happen in October. Which is a very nice part of the year in Paris, just saying. So the next step is to fill in a small form that we will share with you in an email shortly. So if you're interested to take part in iGEM Team Latvia, fill the form and we'll be in touch with you afterwards. So we'll be having probably having short interviews with with all people who applied, and after that we'll kind of connect the team with the universities that are helping us to start this. Again, just to you'll have 1 week to fill in the application, and again, just to reiterate, so iGEM is not only about biotechnologists. So if your background is not in biotech or in science at all, you are still very welcome to apply. So the teams need all kinds of people, from business to design to marketing, and there's always room for someone who is enthusiastic about the iGEM itself. So if you know anyone who might be interested, please forward them the information, so any of our emails, or just the form link, and that we'll be really grateful for that as well. This is that. If you have questions after this session, you can always email us at hello@biocatalyst.eu, or you can reply to any of the emails that we bombard you with. This could be something, a start of something really cool, start of a long tradition of iGEM competitions in Latvia. Let's make that happen. You will receive the recording of this session and also the slides that we have here after the session. And that's all for us. Have a cool evening. Have a cool Friday evening. Have a nice weekend, and hopefully see you very soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Thank you, guys. See you.